Hello, everyone, and welcome to Whale FM Makersplace Edition. In this show, we talk about everything and anything art and crypto in the NFT scene with designers and creators alike, otherwise known as non-fungible tokens. Our guests today are visual artist Darel Carey, whose hypnotic visuals and installations play with depth, perception, and psychology, and the Gaslamp Killer, the Cali-based producer and DJ whose unique audio tapestries weave elements of the psychedelic, underground hip hop, ethnic grooves, and break beats for a collaboration like no other with Matter of Life and Death. Gentlemen, excited to have you with us here today.
Thanks for having me.
Very cool stuff. Before we jump into the piece, which is amazing, we'd just like to level set everyone here. Darel, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and walk us through your background and journey in art?
Yeah, sure. Okay, let me try to summarize that. I've always kind of been into art since I was growing up. I was drawing things. Never really took it like seriously as a career, and I was in the Air Force for about 10 years, and basically came into an epiphany moment where I needed to pursue art. So I went to art school around 2012 to Otis College of Art and Design in Los Angeles, and I went there and just kind of went full-time starving artist, for a while, and explored what I wanted to do in the art realm because I was all over the place at the time. And let me see, graduated about 2016 from Otis, and I've been doing a lot of tape installations and big, large-scale murals, usually for either galleries or corporations across the U.S. and internationally as well. And that's been my main thing I've been doing for the past few years. I'd say 4 or 5 years actually. And recently, about 2020, I started getting into doing making NFTs. I was fascinated by the whole authentication of digital art, and it was something that I've messed with before, graphic art and things like that, and never really found a good way to kind of put it out. So I was really excited about the whole NFT movement that started coming. And so ever since then, I've been making NFTs as well. So for the past, I'd say, a couple of years.
Awesome. GASLAMPKILLER. We gotta ask, first of all, where does your name come from?
The Gaslamp district is a part of San Diego where all of the clubs were built kind of in the 90s. We had a super strong hip hop scene, and there'd be MCs, DJs, graffiti, breakdancing all on the corner, and at the little coffee shop behind the post office was this amazing store where they sold stuff, hip hop stuff, and it was a real culture. And then the Gaslamp district came in and wiped that all away with a bunch of bottle service clubs. But the owners of the clubs and the leaders of the community still had an in to the nightlife. And so they started booking DJs, and all of us were just kind of ragtag hip hop kids trying to cut our teeth in the community. And it was going really well up until the owners decided, you're kind of scaring the girls away and the rich boys with their bottle service money with your music. Could you play some happier stuff? And at the time, I think it was like Britney and Shakira. Beyonce didn't even exist. Like there was no middle ground. It was just like pop or rap, and I kind of got my name because I killed the dance floors and killed everyone's good time. But in the hip hop sense of the word, I was killing it. So it's a double entendre. So the Gaslamp Killer is like a double entendre. It means like I really destroy happy pop culture type of environments, and I cultivate raw hip hop environments, if that makes sense.
That's awesome.
That's super dope. I actually just went to the Gaslamp district for the first time ever not long ago and was kind of taken aback by the scene. I mean, maybe it's different now than what you're characterizing, but when we went down there, like it was kind of like everyone wearing sport coats, like to get into the places. It was kind of a big deal. We ended up finding some like weird bar/club thing where you went into a basement. It looked like someone's basement, and there was like people in front of you on the floor playing blues guitars and stuff. I mean, it was cool, but it was definitely very manufactured and very, with intent. So interesting that's where it comes from.
Yeah, they kind of tried to turn it into a Vegas Strip or a Hollywood Boulevard kind of vibe, and they succeeded.
Well, I can only imagine the sets that you may have put in there to kind of wreck stuff. I was listening to some of your stuff that you have on YouTube, and it was absolute fire, man. Major props
Thanks.
for the little tidbits that you incorporated that make you like get excited when you hear some of those lyrics that you typically wouldn't, right, from a traditional DJ set. Um, Darel, you talked about your coming up and then your interest in NFTs. When you were evolving your style, which is pretty distinct, what were some of your major influences in your art?
As far as in general, like the influences in my art is, I was always into like illusion, things like that. So when I grew up, I was into graffiti a lot, and I would make these like 3D looking pieces, like it looked like the letters were kind of flying off the corner of the wall, and things like that. So I was always into kind of tricking the eye, and I was always a fan of MC Escher. I don't know if you're familiar with some of his work. It's like the relativity with the people walking up sideways on the stairs, and like
Yes,
the
yes.
tessellation patterns, all those. That was if there was an artist that I would say that inspired me, it would be that artist, just in general, because it kind of plays with the psychology of how you see and interpret things, and how one thing can look like two different things at once, depending on how you look at it. So as far as that goes, Escher is certainly an inspiration. Also, Bridget Riley, but it kind of came after the fact. When I started in art school, I started well, the line work that I was drawing, because I always used to like to do that. The professors there were telling me my work looked like, an art artist called Bridget Riley. So, and also Keith Haring. And so based on that, I started seeing who they were. And then like, I realized that some of my work is kind of similar. And yeah, as far as inspiration goes. And then as far as using the medium of tape, that kind of changed the way I made the lines, made them all straight and more like a hard edge versus my more organically drawn lines before that. And then after that too, like with this particular NFT with GASLAMPKILLER, this is like the second piece I did like this, where I'm doing a different style. I mean, it's like the same principle as far as like the philosophy of how I build up art pieces and using emergence and things like that. But it's like, basically small units, small simple units following local rules that become something more complex, and then whatever that becomes is greater than the sum of its parts. So for me, it kind of follows that same idea. And so I was looking for something different, and I was thinking about, or I don't know if we're going to talk about the piece yet, but that's kind of headed towards that.
Yeah, no, very cool. But really quick, how did you get from was that happening at the same time? You were throwing up burners on the street and then going to art school with this real fine art focus, or was that an evolution that happened?
I'd say more of an evolution, because I'm 40 now, and when I was like a teenager, that's when I was doing the graffiti mostly, and in my
Right.
early 20s, and then I was in the military for like a decade, so I was doing completely different stuff, and then when I came back, to LA, I was when I went to art school, I was also selling my art designs on clothing for hip hop events. So mostly, I would actually the airliner too, where GASLAMPKILLER had his low end theory. I would go there and sell my clothing basically with my drawings on there, or other like b-boy events, b-boy jams, or graffiti battles. So I was kind of like still in there in the I guess in the culture. But as far as me, it was kind of separate. So as I was doing that, I was also going to art school, and I was in art school. I guess I just had my my hands in a whole bunch of different baskets, like doing different things and just trying to combine them in the ways that I saw fit. So it was a little bit separate.
Right. Very cool. Thank you for sharing more on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Love your
Yeah.
style. It's so cool. So Daryl's been in the NFT space
Thanks.
for a couple years. I do have a question about GASLAMPKILLER. Is this your Genesis piece, or what's been your exposure to NFTs?
A good friend of mine named Chris Dyer, he's a Peruvian artist from Montreal, asked me to do a soundtrack to his first NFT. So that was the first experience that I had. He's like a close friend of mine, and he tapped me to do the sound for it. And I guess that would be the first one I worked on, but this is the first time that I was like given like not direction per se, but kind of like Darel kind of reached out to me and gave me some ideas of what he was thinking about. And I was commenting on his TikTok, commenting on his Instagram, like, oh, I love this one. Oh, this one's crazy. And I also like op art, and I have, books of optical illusion art. It's been a huge part of my growing up. Black and white stuff has always been something that I've been really into. And so we got together on more of a creative way instead of just, can you give me some sounds for this piece I made? It was a lot more special, made me feel a lot more welcome. And I'm super excited. And that's Chris Dyer in the middle there. That is one of his Galactic Gang joints. But the first one that we did together, he made like a huge collection of these characters. But the first one that we did together was really special, and it was an edition of 12, and it's down there somewhere. I don't post too often, so it'll probably come up. Anyway, yeah, I love Darel's work, and I wanted to ask you, Darel, did you get any? Yeah, there it is on the left. Did you get any pieces up when you were in the military at all? Did you sneak any cheeky bombs or throw ups or anything when you were out there deployed?
So in a small way, yes. Like, because when I was stationed in Texas, I would come to LA or back home, and which was in IE, which is a little east of LA. Yeah. And I would do things with my friends there. So not really in the military or while I was out, but there was a little bit of that going on, you know, so a little bit of an overlap in my lives. But also, I also did a few, so I used to DJ also for in the Air Force, and then also I painted a mural there, like for like in the dorms, like in the stairwell. I did this like illusory piece,
nice.
But it was legal. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting. There's people that are coming with graffiti art as NFTs, and there's this like legal kind of gray area. They're like, can we put this? Can we attribute it to people? Like, what, you know, obviously doing something specifically for an NFT and, you know, the canvas is okay is different, but there's people out there just capturing burners and throwing up on sides of walls or whatever. So interesting. But I digress. GLK, we talked about Darel a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey in music and what shaped your sound and where you're at today? Because listening to it, it's a real cool eclectic mix. I was really impressed with the different ingredients that go into your stuff.
Thank you. My family's Syrian, Turkish, Lebanese, born and raised in Mexico City, first generation, my father. So they were immigrants who went from the Arab lands, Arab Jews who got exiled. And they chose Mexico instead of America. And so I grew up with my father, who's a very musical guy, and he would sing and whistle all the time. And it just raised me on this kind of, you know, home, not like playing records or playing, like, I didn't grow up on like Marvin Gaye or ABBA or any of these bands. It was more like my dad would play guitar and play our little piano and just play by ear and sing and whistle. And he sang on the radio in the 50s in Mexico City. So it kind of like gave me a lot of creative inspiration without even knowing it. And my mother was a stand-up comedian for 20 years in the East Village in New York. So it was like a very creative house to grow up in energetically, and my DNA more than like them introducing me to stuff, like so many kids' stories. And then, you know, young guy, I was doing theater and acting stuff when I was a kid, and I started going to raves in the 90s, and I just realized, wow, you could be totally weird and ugly and be successful and have people love your shit for your music and your art. And you don't have to be, because, you know, California is pretty superficial, and I grew up with a lot of good looking kids, and I never fit in, and I tried the acting thing and I didn't fit in again, even though I felt like I had a lot of skills. And so music just drew me in. It made me feel like, wow, you could be a total freak and still have a support system from your community. And when I moved to LA, I thought I was going to get chewed up and spit out, but it was the opposite. People were saying, where have you been all our lives? I said, San Diego. They're like, no, never again. Get out of there. Get out of there. We'll bring you in. You know, they understand here. I guess a lot of big cities do. You know, I played in New York a lot and San Francisco. And when I started traveling in 2002, I was in Berlin for a week doing an art show called Streetwise 2 with Doze Green and She Won. These two are legends in their 50s. And, you know, I was really, really heavily into the street art scene. I would say Shepard Fairey gave me my first start as a DJ in San Diego to get out of the Gaslamp district. Shepard from Obey he loved my style, and he heard me at a club with Z Trip in the Gaslamp district, and I was literally getting booed by the bottle service girls. They were just miserable with my MF Doom and Madlib and Dilla beats. But Shepard saw me and was like, "Yo, come spin for me." So I started DJing art shows all over San Diego, and then the next thing you know, I was traveling through Europe, and I've been touring the whole world for the last 15 years, and always playing weird stuff, you know, sticking to my guns and trying to bring in cultural references that are diverse, like my family, and playing music from around the world, and just trying to, you know, bring the rawness and the real authenticity into this world of cookie cutter fakes. You know, I hate to say it that way, but that's been my goal.
Yeah, no, for sure. And thank you for sharing it with everybody. Shout out to Shepard, who just actually started his own social token this past week. It seems like he's crossed paths with a lot of my favorite artists. Now you're included in that bunch, along with Darel and Dalek, who's who worked with him on a number of things as well.
Oh, I grew up to his stuff. Incredible.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. You know, you definitely have kind of a synergy in that you both kind of touch on psychology and psychedelic elements in your art. Is that how the connection came about for this collaboration, or did you guys know each other from that scene when you guys were both involved, you know, in the music scene in San Diego?
No, like, so I wasn't in San Diego. I actually first heard GASLAMPKILLER like maybe around 2015 or so. I heard I can't remember what was first. I either saw him at Low End Theory, which was at the Airliner every Wednesday, or I heard his album, like the LA Live album. I'm not sure which one, but man, like I was like super impressed when I was up at Low End Theory, and he played like after, kind of like, I guess one of the last DJs, like after the guest plays, GASLAMPKILLER always comes on, and man, the upstairs level, it just, I don't know, it's like you don't hear the music, like you feel it go through you, and like you're like a conduit, you know. So I don't know, I just felt like, wow, who was that guy, you know? Like, that was GASLAMPKILLER. And so that's how I heard about him. And then I also heard his album, and I was just really, you know, I really digging his music, just listening to it over the years. And when we started having reels on Instagram, and then the music with TikTok, you know how you can choose people's albums or songs to, you know, put with your stuff. And that was like a new thing, because before that you couldn't put anything copyright up, right? So for me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, start, you know, pairing my art up with, or my time lapses up with you know, with music that I like, you know. So GASLAMPKILLER was one of the main ones that I kept on you know, putting on my videos. And so I think he noticed that as well, and so he kind of, you know, reached out. So that's how we met. Just basically, you know, he saw that I was putting his music on my videos, and he liked it. So that's how we met. And then after that, I think he commented on one of my pieces on TikTok, saying, hey, you know, you looking for sound? And I was like, yeah, that sounds actually amazing, you know, because I don't have any sound for most of my pieces, actually. So then we linked up from there as far as you know, for the piece.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. I was bugging on your stuff. I'm so glad you put my music in there. It's like the sea of the internet is endless. It's hard to see good stuff, and you know, the algorithm is sophisticated, but it's not really delivering what I would hope that I'm actually into. So it's really cool that you tagged me, that you posted it with my sound, because I would have never known that you had come to Low End or anything. So the power of the internet wins once again, even though it is a cesspool in hell.
Yeah, for sure. And also, you know, we know some of the people that we know are like the same kinds of people, but like, it's just, LA is so big, and there's, I don't know, it's just like, I know D Styles. I mean, like, we're not like close friends or anything, but I know him, and I talked to him at Low End before, but I never talked to you, you know, but I've always been a fan.
D Styles is like our Jimi Hendrix, you know, we worship that dude. He's coming to the show tomorrow. He lives in Vegas, actually.
Oh, nice, man. I wish I wasn't going to Big Bear.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Hey, bachelor party in Big Bear sounds great. I love the snow. I think I've only been in the snow 20 times in my entire life, though.
Actually, same here.
Listen, I'm buried in about 3 feet of snow, so I'm the wrong person. I'm the wrong person to have this conversation with. But envious about what both of you are doing. I'll trade spaces
LA
anytime.
boys.
Yeah. So let's talk about the piece.
Okay. All right. Want me to just start describing it?
Sure. Well, first of all, you know, conceptually, like, where were you going with it, and how did it all come together?
Okay, so for me, it was I was like starting to allude to that earlier about how I'm interested in the emergence. So small units, like small simple things, kind of grouping together and arranging in certain ways that create something more complex. And that's kind of the basis of me starting to use this style. I do the same thing with my lines, but I started doing it with these little, little faces, little bubbles. I don't even know what they are yet. I just like to draw them. And so I made, yeah, that's it right there. So I started making that piece actually when I started talking to GASLAMPKILLER. So it was kind of like a timing thing to where I started thinking about like the collab with GASLAMPKILLER while I was finishing up the piece. So um, I was interested in, because at first I just did a face and it was just a still face, and I didn't have the skull idea. So I was starting to think about the process of life, the I guess the finite level of our existence, like we're here and then we're gone in a sense, and how like have you heard of things like the ship of Theseus, where parts of the ship are taken out from it? Like it's a boat, like it's a Greek story or something like that, where they have a boat and it's like sitting in the water, like as a
Yes,
museum for a museum or something like that. Okay, and basically slowly all the rotting pieces of wood get replaced, and then it's like all new pieces of wood, and then the question is it still the ship of Theseus? And that kind of question, that philosophical question, is kind of what I'm interested here with like small parts, like of a human body, for example. Like think of atoms. Like I've read that like all the atoms in your body, are replaced every 7 years or so. And so to think like, you as an identity, you're still you, but all the parts of your body, like I'm thinking of myself a decade ago, and it's like interesting to think that like all the components of my body, we're all different, but I'm still me, so kind of some to do with that, and to do with like the complex arrangement that is our lives, just and the complexity of time. I don't know, just started thinking of life and death, and so I kind of turned it into a built up face, and then a dissolving skull, and then of course collab with Gaslamp on how to best lay that with some sound.
Yeah, and Gaslamp, we'd love to hear your thoughts on how you approach this. Like, what were you thinking and shaping the soundscape?
My go-to instinctual musical approach to every session, every recording, every studio session with other musicians, every mix, everything I do is one take is your instinct. My godfather, Harold Greenwald, was a like crazy, incredible psychologist and philosopher. And when I was 8 years old, he told me your first guess is always right. And if you can harness your instincts and your intuition, you can literally get through life with ease. And you will be challenged, but you have to tap into that, because your brain will trick you, and your brain, creates the fear, and your heart and your instincts and intuition create the love that move through love. And obviously, I've fallen down and failed a million times, but the first guess is the first take, is the first try, the first drop of paint on the canvas. You have to start with something, and that leads to something greater. And for me, musically, when I saw this piece, I thought of this audio that I had created with this microcosm pedal and my Oberheim OB8, because the rhythm of this piece, it's a little on the feed here, it's like it's clicking out a little bit. Sorry, what's the word? Like it's lagging a
It's like
little
choppy.
bit. Yeah, which is fine. You get the idea though. So if you watch it on Instagram, or you watch it on Makerspace, wherever you find it, basically the rhythm of the dots and the rhythm of the all of it, like every element of this piece is moving in my mind in a percussive way. And so every time something new appears in the image, it's, in my mind, a percussive element. And so that's what I translated it to. I thought of this piece and I literally clicked play on the video and play on Pro Tools, and it matched up on beat. Even though there's no beat in the music and no beat, there's rhythm in the sound and there's rhythm in the animation, and they matched up so perfectly. First thing I chose. And that instinct, once again, it's really, really powerful. And I use it all the time with everything I do. And when I have musicians come play in my studio, I'm already recording and they have no idea. There's no red light blinking in your face, and I'm not standing over you going, "You ready?" You know, it's like I'm just low key recording, and the first thing they play becomes the song. And yeah, then you take time with it and you move it around. Like I had to move the sound around just once to get the second half of the animation to click on the grid of what I was working with. But you know, that first sound is from your heart, it's not from your head. But when you see a red light blinking, or when you have a due date, a deadline, some sort of pressure behind it, or you have some sort of, you know, other elements, it disturbs your instinct, it disturbs your intuition. And I know it's not about, I'm not trying to bring money into this, but this quote from Quincy Jones, he said, when I'm in the studio, when money walks in the room, God walks out. And that's, the money can be construed or replaced with any other word that has to do with impure. So the pure creative essence of my technique is what I'm always going for. And it's really, really hard to muck it up with any other signals, feedback in my signal. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I approach this, and it fit perfectly without a doubt. And then Darel was like, "Yo, like I love your drums, I love all the synth, I love everything. Can you send me a few more things?" I'm like, "Of course." So I sent him a few more things, and he's like, "Hey, this looks good. This looks good." I was like, "Bro, this is the thing. Look at this again. Like, take a deep breath and just look at it again." And he's like, "You're right. You're right. This is it." So we both agreed. But you know, I'm pretty hard edge on that. That's kind of my thing, you know. The first take.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I love that. As I dabbled in music a little bit myself, and always found that the more I go back and try to refine it, the more it loses, right? Like sometimes the imperfection is the best characteristic of it. I'll never forget a friend of mine who had a southern drawl, and they said, "I'm going to re-record my music so it loses that southern drawl." And I'm like, "No, don't, please." That's the one of the best aspects that makes it unique. You know, I like the flaws and the little idiosyncrasies of it.
There's a lot of cookie cutter stuff out there. I mean, people put auto-tune on their voice now and they could just sound like anyone, and it all kind of sounds the same. In every country that I travel to, when I get into the Uber, it's the same song with the same reggaeton beat and the same auto-tune, but it's just in another language, but it sounds like the same song. It's interesting.
Totally. Yeah, we definitely have been trained in the world today to not trust our instincts. So that's amazing. Thank you for sharing that process, and how cool that you went back to that first one even after trying on the other the other matches. That's awesome.
Yeah, I
I'd
was
love
excited.
to know.
All the different sounds.
Yeah,
Oh, there's
that's
so many more
fun.
pieces we can work on with those beats. You know, this time you can tailor an animation to one of my songs that I sent you, or something new, you know, and we can mix and match our vibe, you know.
There
Hell
you
yeah,
go.
sounds
Reverse
good to
the
me.
process. I can't wait to see what
Yeah.
you guys make next.
Sorry we cut you off, Nikki. What were you going to say?
Oh, not at all. I'm excited about your collaboration, and I can't wait to see what you come up with next. That's awesome. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the ability to incorporate interactive elements into the art via smart contracts, like, for example, maybe for your next project. What are your thoughts on that?
Me?
Yeah.
So you're talking about like when people like add all these different like aspects, or like, I don't know, like tickets or mutations or all kinds of stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because it is kind of the Wild West, and you can incorporate
Yeah.
what. Yeah.
I mean, the way I guess where I stand right now on it is it's such a big, fast-moving world, the crypto world, the NFT world, and it's a little daunting to me. And I'm open to a bunch of different things, but I feel like I'm barely grasping just getting, I'm just now getting some awesome audio, on my art, for example. But I'm definitely open. I don't know, like I don't know, through Makerspace, like what I can do. I feel like I'm not grasping the whole thing yet enough to implement some of these, other options. And I feel like I have my hands full enough with just getting my, even the digital animations for me is a pretty new thing. So even though I've drawn digitally before, as far as making these actual animations with my artwork, it's a very new thing to me. So
yeah.
So I guess basically I'm open to that, but I just haven't even gotten there yet.
I can only imagine what these would look like in VR.
Oh yeah.
I'd be lost. I'd have someone have to come get me. It'd be like some Matrix sequel, hopefully much better than Matrix 4, but we won't get into that.
Yeah, gosh,
that's a hot button with me over here. On a
same
related
here.
note, GLK, how about a show or what's that?
Exclusive catnip killer photos that you get, very rare cat here, that you could get a few exclusive snaps of this cat. I think that would be cool. Put that in the smart contract. You want to like use this little boy for your next NFT. You only have to pay 50,000 Ethereum, and you can use his beautiful face. And
look at that face.
I think there's some bidders that are chomping at the bit right now.
You're gonna get a little.
I'm just gonna screenshot it. Right click save.
Yeah, exactly. I'll send you some exclusive selfies of this guy ripping my shirts apart with his. You need your nails trimmed, huh?
He also scratches.
Yeah, exactly.
On a related note, why don't we get a DJ set from you? The cat can come as well in the metaverse. Give an opportunity for some people that can't visit wherever you're showing in Vegas or LA, an opportunity to see how you throw down. That'd be pretty dope.
Those YouTube videos you were playing of me in my living room, during 2020, it was like, oh wow, we're all in the house getting unemployment and getting checks. Like, I'm just gonna play music for free for people on the internet. And then by 2021, I was like, how can I charge for this? And then by 2022, I'm like, bro, I'm going to go get a job at freaking Rite Aid down the street real quick. Like, screw my DJ sets. I'm going to just go, nah, that's messed up. There's my boy right there. See,
he does make an appearance.
And he's on every record cover I've ever done. He's always sneakily in every piece of art that I've done since he was born 8 years ago. I've had him since he was 3 months old. So ever since I was blessed with this little creature in my life, he's in the artwork,
There's a member of our community who's well known for his dad jokes, and I'm waiting for him to ask if the cat can scratch, but I haven't seen it yet. I'm sure it's coming.
He's got long arms. I'm sure he could do something with these things besides tear up furniture.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know you guys have to run. Thank you so much for taking this on the road, Darel. A couple quick questions from the community, if I could, that have been DM'd to us. I'd love to get your thoughts on a couple things. For both of you, one of the questions is, what are some NFT projects or artists that you're fans of?
Well, I'm a fan of Pac. I like the kinds of projects he does. I like Rafik Anadol. That's one of my favorite artists, even before he started doing NFTs. And I'm also a fan of, I've been a fan for a while of Trevor Jones.
Very cool. Nice mix there.
Yeah.
I'm still, a graffiti head. And so I was checking out, what Tristan Eaton just dropped, the pieces that my boy Tristan Eaton just dropped. And also, my boy who does Flying Lotus visuals, Strange Loop, he entered this space really early, and he has some incredible animations as well as stills. He's really big with fractals, and the same fractals he's selling as NFTs are in the background of all my visuals when I play my shows. I've been using Strange Loop's visuals for a long time, so I support him as well. And then my label mate and cohort and good friend Teebs, incredible musician who also happens to be an incredible artist. He has been doing NFTs in the space early on. He uses StyleGAN, like a AI type of thing where he photographs his pieces and then sends them through this crazy. I don't understand it personally. I just know that he bought an extremely expensive gaming computer in order to use this app. And it blew my mind, because he literally had our friend Theo Jemison, who's entering the space soon. He's taken half the photos of me that I've had. And he basically took 100 photos, and this app or algorithm or this AI type of program, it meshed everything together and created an incredible collection, which sold out in less than an hour, 404 pieces. So I've seen a lot of my creative friends have great success in this zone. But to be fair, they've been working at this for decades before the platforms existed,
Right. Well, it's great that NFT culture is really, providing more empowerment for creatives, to hop in. And, even people that have been working on things for decades can be shoulder to shoulder with people that are just getting started, right? That's the democratization of art. There's no critic or label like this is what's going to be on everybody's plate. Exactly. So that's what's dope about it for sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. No more gatekeepers, please. Can we just open the space up to all the nerds in the world and let us be free without rich frickers? You know what I mean? I'm just like, please give everybody a chance. Creativity is more important than money and popularity contests,
Yes.
I hear you for sure. For sure. That's the ethos of this space, 100%.
Cool.
I don't know, Lady Warbus, did someone DM you a few more questions as well?
I do have one more question that got sent in from the community. This is for Darel. What are some of your favorite commercial projects that you've worked on?
Commercial projects. So recently, or actually back in the last summer I did a huge mural for Facebook, now Meta. And
oh, wow.
It was like the biggest mural I've ever done. And it was a nice project. It was fun. And I mean, that's the one that sticks out to me. Let me think of a fun one.
Huge, man. That's huge.
Yeah, that one was really big. It's in the lobby of they're going to have these new Oculus buildings, because they're building that out, right? At the time, I didn't know exactly. At the time, it wasn't Meta. So for me, it was just kind of like, okay, so Oculus is doing more things here. They got their own dedicated buildings. So it's like for the brand new buildings there. And I'm not even sure if it's open yet. I don't think it's open to the public yet, but people have been asking about that. But anyway, that was a real fun one. Another big commercial. One time I got to do a wrap design for Cadillac. And I liked the idea, but the thing is, they wanted to use it as a camouflage, and like I like the way it looked as a wrap, like keep it on there, and they used it as like a way to unveil their car. So I don't know. I think I might have to tape up my car or something.
Nice. If we see it driving down the street, we'll know what happened.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
That would look slick. There's some Kenny Scharf cars in my neighborhood, and God knows it looks like a straight cartoon acid trip driving on a white Prius. Like, who would do that? I have no idea. I know Kenny Scharf's a big deal, but geez Louise, those cars, every time I drive by, I'm like, wow, do you get pulled over every day? It's like, at least they look classy.
Yeah.
Yours would look classy.
Before... Yeah, thanks. And before, like, my old car, I had a Honda Civic, like, 7 years ago. And I Sharpie that car with some kind of, like, I would call it like tribal looking designs, and we had that same worry, like, oh yeah, what are you going to do if, people come up and like, it'll make them like mess with it or draw on it or something like that. And nobody did anything to it. It was fine. So I have a feeling when I tape up the car, if I do that, it'll be respected, especially here in California. There's a lot of unique things out here, and people just appreciate it versus, I don't know, ostracize it.
Yeah, definitely. There certainly are unique things out there, you two gentlemen included. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing some more about yourselves, about this drop. We're hyped to see how it goes, as well as what you have coming in the future after this. Sounds like more collaborations for us to be excited about. Best of luck on the drop. Interested to see, what else comes from you guys. And GLK, have a great show tomorrow.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have a great
Yeah,
one,
have a great
guys.
show, GOK, and thank you again, Gaslamp Killer, for doing this. This is awesome.
Of
This is
course. Thank you.
I've always been a huge fan of you, music-wise, so it was an honor to collaborate.
Likewise, I hope we could do some more soon, and I appreciate y'all's time as well. Thanks so much. This is my first like on camera chat about this new culture that we're in. So it's really eye opening for me, and it's exciting. So thank you.
Thank you. It's exciting to have you here with us, and look forward to more things to come, I'm sure.